Well, West Virginia's taken some bumps over the last couple of weeks, losing Jeff Casteel, losing Larry Knight to Georgia. And we need somebody to teach these pass rushers. I got one word for you. Bruce.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host around here, and thank you for joining back into Locked On West Virginia, where we're talking about West Virginia football, a little bit of West Virginia basketball, some recruiting, a little bit of everything, all the good stuff rolled up in one show. And we thank you for being here. Obviously, we're going to be talking about our friends from FanDuel on this one. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we're talking about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. Not alone, obviously. Backed by popular demand, and I'm not lying here, dozens of comments now have rolled in to have us collaborate again. So we were doing so you asked us to do this. So bringing on Jordan from Country Roads Webcast, man, I appreciate your time again today.
Absolutely, Paul. Thanks for having me back on. Had a great time last time. Glad everybody else seemed to enjoy it as well, and we get to do it again.
Yeah. Make sure you hit the like button for us, guys. I appreciate that drum roll for the comments for saying that. I don't ask enough. It's kind of an issue. I probably need to ask more. Do you struggle with that?
Yeah, sometimes. I try and always do it at the opening so I don't forget, but every now and then I still, especially when I'm live, I definitely forget more than when I do pre-recorded.
Love the West Virginia hat you got on today, brother. It's
Thank you,
great. Love the old school logo with I've got a hat like that too. It's mine's yellow, so it's not like the greatest for camera. It's bright yellow. But yeah, I love that old logo. For change up every now and then. So speaking of the older logo, Bruce Irvin played when we had different style of uniform and different styles of things in West Virginia. And it's hard to believe it's been so long ago that he played for the Mountaineers, 20 plus sacks in his just really kind of a short stint with West Virginia, just, 2 years. And one of the greatest pass rushers in school history, and also probably in the top 10 of NFL careers in school history, maybe even better. I just never would have thought he would have been a linebacker most of his career. I thought he was going to be an edge pass rusher, but at the end of the day, West Virginia is in a situation here. We were told when Larry Knight was hired that it was a slam dunk hire and that he had this ability to get the most out of pass rushers. We were even looking at some elite guys that he potentially had before to come over. That didn't happen, but what we did see was, a lot of people getting some confidence and projecting West Virginia to be better as a pass rush with him on board. And then Georgia came calling, and unfortunately he's gone. I didn't even cover it. I was so frustrated. And he was only here 30 days. It's like, did the casual fan even get to know who he was? So, that's over with. But I saw an article from Skylar Callahan. It was based off of West Virginia Bagman, who is a West Virginia account that just very active on X, and asked a question. He tagged Bruce, and Bruce responded, and with the thinking emoji, if he would come back and be a pass rushing specialist for West Virginia. And during his career at West Virginia, we know obviously one of the most explosive pass rushers in school history. What are your thoughts on Bruce Irvin as far as him coming to West Virginia to help out? Because what else have we got? It's so late in the game. Without poaching another, like Georgia did to us, what else could we do?
Excited about him. I think that certainly shows that. But when it comes to, Bruce in this position, I'm kind of two minds about it, because usually when this comes up and there's a position open and people are saying it should be this former player that played that position because they were good at it and stuff, I'm usually like, nah, I don't know. Just because they were good playing, it doesn't mean they have the coaching experience and ability to be able to do it. But in this case, I think this would probably be the exception to that, in my opinion, just because what we would need him for is literally just to coach the pass rush, to coach the edge rushers. And who better to do it than the last person that you had in Morgantown that was really great at that than Bruce Irvin. So in this case, I think this would be the exception to where I say bring him in. Let's give him a chance. Let's get Bruce Irvin here and see if he can't coach up these pass rushers, because we've brought in plenty of, good edge rushers and bandits this offseason. And like you said, we do need somebody to come in and coach him now, and on short notice. Why not bring in a legend that's done it here at the school before?
This is not the first time he's campaigned for the job. If you go back to December of 24, which is when Rich Rod got hired, he sent out a similar tweet that day, the day Neil Brown was fired, asking people to tag Rim Baker and bring him home. So he's campaigned for himself. It's it's not something that not only has other people campaigned for, but he has.
Yep.
And I mean, you look at it, he was a dominant force, obviously, West Virginia in 10 and 11. Yes, it was after Rich Rod, but I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of, obviously he knew Gibby, and there's a lot of connections there where he would know of Rich Rod. 22 and a half sacks in only 26 games, just an elite stretch, top 15 pick by the Seahawks, and what a career he had playing for the Seahawks, the Lions, and I think for the Dolphins for a bit. But outside of that, I was thinking to myself, I put together, if I were Bruce Irvin, what would I say? Like how would I put myself over, to use a wrestling term, or how would I sell myself to Rich Rodriguez, to try to convince him to bring him in? And I think at the end of the day, Bruce Irvin's a guy that could come in, you hope, because it's not always a fact that those that can do can teach. We know that, but you would hope anyways. And if he would bring him in, Bruce is a guy that can teach him, the inside spin off wide alignment. You could hopefully, get the long arm bull rush versus tackles who have length is a big key for pass rushers in this day and age. Obviously, speed to power conversion is a big deal. You can teach them hand usage, hopefully, how to have independent hands, or if you want to use chop rip combos, cross chop combos against overset tackles. You could probably teach a little 4-3, 3-4. You could probably help with Sam and wide nine specialists. Like, there's a lot he can really do here. If you look at the systems he's played in, that's why I say this. You played in a Pete Carroll system during the Legion of Boom era, which is one of the greatest defenses of all time. You played under Dan Quinn, who's one of the greatest defensive coordinators of the last 20 years. Played again multiple hybrid fronts. So that means he understands how to contain integrity. He understands rush lane discipline. He understands zone drop responsibilities, and he should understand blitz timing concepts, Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Technical side.
What an education.
Yeah, I would say he's learned from the best, and of course he's done it at the highest level as well. So I think technically he's there, and just kind of add into that, I think there's something to be said about kind of how much it would mean to him as well, because more so than, a lot of other former players that move on, he's consistently, supported WVU, been passionate about WVU, even donated to the university. And as you said, campaigning for the job himself in the past, there's something to be said about somebody that really wants to be here, getting the job and doing the best that they can, that's done it at that highest level. And I think that's all just check marks in the pro list. If you're making a pros and cons of if Bruce Irvin should be the guy or not, I think you're coming out with more pros than cons at this point, and I'm all for somebody with that type of passion.
Yeah. I mean, if you're, to be fair and to be, I guess, to do our due diligence, and we're homers, obviously, if you were going to go cons, what would that look like to you as far as, okay, obviously we've named all these these pros for Bruce to come in. There's a lot, but what's the flip side if you're going to argue against it? Just play devil's advocate for me.
I think, it's the main thing that stands out is, experience. Like, usually when someone gets a job at this level, being at the power conference level, they've worked their way up, started as a GA
right.
somewhere, or had some high school coaching experience, and then kind of climbed the ladder, similar to what we've seen someone like, Pat White do, that's on the staff now. And so that would probably be the main knock that people would have against it, in my opinion. And they would say, you're bypassing other candidates just to bring somebody in that was a former Mountaineer. That's what I think naysayers would say. But it just depends on which side of that coin you like to look at. Like you said earlier, we're homers. I'm forever the optimist, so I'm always going to support whatever choice is made, regardless. But something special I think about bringing back someone that was a fan favorite like Bruce. That also helps to build excitement throughout the fan base, when you have guys like that on staff. I mean, look, just last year when they were building the staff, each person that came in, and we was like, oh man, they got Pat, oh, they got Noel, just adding that adds to the excitement in the lead up, I think, to the season. Of course, I went from con and brought it all the way back around to positivity, but that's what I do.
That's what you do. I'm with you, man. I think, if I had to dig deep and try to figure out some things, like you mentioned the experience, there's no doubt. There's more to the job than teaching how to pass rush, right? How can you recruit? How personable is Bruce? I can't really say to know. I mean, I've seen him in interviews, but in day-to-day life, is he a guy that's, pleasant to be around and not for lack of a better term, an ass? I don't know. I'm assuming he's not. I'm just saying I don't know the answer to these questions, and I'm sure people that are in those positions would. But just skin deep here, guys. I think there are pros and cons to it, absolutely. I would not be mad at it. Here's why. It's the timing. If you're talking about, okay, it's the fresh off season and you got to go out and get the best guy available, like a Larry Knight, then yes, I would probably say, I don't know about this hire. Like, there's a ton of guys out there that are looking for jobs right now, and Bruce just hasn't had any experience. But in a situation like this, where you're pretty deep into the offseason now, and I don't know the landscape of coaching right now, but I would assume it's probably pretty tight out there unless you go poach a guy, right? So it's either probably go poach a guy, or maybe it's you take a chance on a guy like Bruce. And here's another thing. I've always wondered why you couldn't just bring a guy like Bruce in. You can have a ton of assistants now, and just have him help with teaching some of the on the field stuff. I mean, he's set for life. He's rich. Like, he doesn't even, not that he doesn't deserve money, but I mean, you can give him 50, 60 grand probably, and he'd probably gladly move back and be a part of this, I'm sure. So there's a lot to kind of talk about with this. Obviously, at the end of the day, hoping whatever happens for West Virginia, that's best case scenario happens. But I wouldn't be mad to see Bruce around town again. So it'd be interesting to see what happens, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing who they hire regardless, and get somebody in here and let's coach these pass rushers up for this season.
That's the thing. We've got a lot of inexperience, and maybe we'll touch on that next too, but we've got a lot of inexperience at the pass rush spot. We do have some guys that have some experience for G5 guys. Obviously, you think about Toby Hostrip being the biggest one. Like, he needs a mentor. Yeah. I think Larry Knight was the perfect marriage for him, and unfortunately that's not going to happen now. But we'll go to break on that note and talk a little bit more about it. But before we do that, actually, I think we're going to jump into some recruiting. As Jordan and I have been talking about a few guys West Virginia's involved with at different levels, from 4-star. We got a couple 4-star guys to talk about, and then one guy that gets so low to the ground that looks like he's doing push-ups. I'm not kidding. We'll talk about it next. Stick around. And, of course, we're talking about our friends, and we do love our friends, guys, right now from Indeed. From FanDuel. And right now on FanDuel, if you didn't know, now you know. If you want to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, FanDuel is giving you that chance to turn that dream into a reality with NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. You use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole shebang. So now, not only can you pick cash, but you can also send yourself to the finals. That's pretty good. I love futures this time of year as well, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title. It adds an extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. So if you too want to visit FanDuel.com to get started, you too can use your profit boost on an NBA future and get your enter for a chance to win that trip to the finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And Indeed says hello. And why wouldn't they say hello? Indeed's killing it right now. If you didn't know, workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inboxes overflowing. One person you have to feel that's still sitting open is, look, when the pressure's on you and you need the right hire for the right job, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Indeed, and here's another stat that says it all. In a minute, I've been talking to you on this little clip here. I've been talking to you, and guess what? Indeed has made 27 hires. That's pretty crazy. people like from your companies have made 27 on Indeed. So that's according to Indeed data worldwide. If you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check it all. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast, where the terms and conditions apply. You need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. In segment 2, I'm going to crack open a Arizona tea due to you, Jordan. And
I like it.
I don't have any dew today. I've just got a little tea here. The dews have been a little hard on the throat here lately. So I'm trying to, just got a little honey in it, just trying to protect the old voice box. When you talk for 30 minutes at a time, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day straight, it actually, your voice, not only does your voice change, I found out, but it also, it's like Savannah Guthrie, even though she's in the news for another reason right now. She had to have a that surgery on her vocal cords where she talks so much. So yeah, I've learned like we have to kind of take care of our voices a little bit more.
For sure. And honey's a great way to do that. Honey's always good to alleviate the throat and help with the vocal cords, all that.
Yeah. Which, I mean, your wife is a singer, so I'm sure she probably knows that.
Yep.
All right. So, final thoughts on the Bruce Irvin thing. Anything else you think we need to add to that, or is it would we pretty well sum it up?
I think we summed it up pretty good for the most part. I think, like I said, the fans, that would be who they want. We just have to wait and see if, the staff and the powers that be agree and they go out and give them a chance at the job, and we'll see what happens there. But we'll definitely be bringing somebody in, and I'm anxious to find out who it is.
Me as well. All right, so let's get to some freshmen, and obviously they're not even freshmen yet. These are high school seniors for 2027. I don't know why I typed freshman in there. It's just I guess just been watching so much freshman tape of this year's freshman class that I did that. But either way, these will be freshmen next year. And a couple guys on this list, Jordan, I sent you some names, obviously, and we've got 8 names now, I think. But there are a couple that really just flat out stick out. I'm going to go over some of these names, and you tell me your thoughts. Right before we got on here, I'm going to ask you why it's fresh. Ethan Lawson, 6'6", 300 pounds, 565-pound box squat, 455-pound bench. He's got an 81.5-inch wingspan, 10.25 hands. This is not the 4-star guy that we watched right before him. We got his tape here. Ethan Lawson looks like he gets down into a push-up stance. Am I lying?
No, man. He's super low to the ground. I mean, he's doing a bear crawl out there. It's super impressive, especially when you showed me his tape and the way he gets up to the second level. I mean, like that in a split second. He's got all the measurables there. I know, as you said, he's currently a 3-star, but I think he's an underrated 3-star. I wouldn't be surprised to see him end up a 4 by the time it's all said and done, once more people get a look at him, because his tape is super impressive.
Yeah, obviously the context I don't have is the competition he's playing against, and I know that factors in, but good Lord, man, just pure ability to get off the ball, shooting through, and then also on defense, the way he does things was really impressive. But he's not the only, and this is just such a nice trend to see West Virginia finally looking at all. I mean, it seems like every time we turn around now, West Virginia's looking at elite high school offensive linemen. Are they picking out 4, 5, or 5-star guys? No, but we've gone from 3-star to 4-star guys for the most part. Yep. And another one is, and we've just got the offer pulled out to a kid that, I mean, at the end of the day, like there's a lot of guys on here that I would like West Virginia to get. We just talked about Ethan Lawson. He may be if he's 1A, Mason McDermott's 1B. Mason McDermott's rated higher, and he plays in Indiana at Noblesville High School. We got some tape we'll watch on him, but he's 6'7", 300 pounds. He's an ESPN top 300 player, consistent 4-star, a top 5 player in the state of Indiana, top 30 nationally. So this is one of those guys that, he's in that Kevin Brown, space where he's in that 90s, and elite tackle territory as a frame. I mean, a 6'7", 300 pounds, you really can't ask for much more. This is a guy that's built like a power 4 already. And we got some tape here for you. Jordan, you can talk about him while we're playing.
Yeah, I mean, ideal size for sure. Coming in from, you have to compete with some Big Ten schools to get him, but just look at him manhandle some of these guys on tape there at the tackle position. This would be someone that could come in and probably play early potentially if you would need him to, because he's got the measurables already. As you said, 6'7", 300. You don't get that a lot out of high school, and that 4-star caliber, as you said, going after those 4-star caliber linemen now is super exciting. As you watch him there in pass pro, absolutely level somebody to the ground, and he just does that time and time again on this tape. It's super impressive, man.
Yeah. I mean, and there's just a level of comfortability I have, Jordan, now that Rick Trickett is at the controls picking these guys, because, and it's not just him. I know Travis is playing a huge part in this as well. And I think Travis has the offer out to this one specifically, but Rick is obviously going to he's going to be a huge part of this, probably in conjunction with his kid. But overall, I mean, I'm a little at ease now knowing that Rick Trickett is pulling the trigger on some of these guys. What about you?
Definitely makes me feel a lot better about the ability to evaluate, the ability to know what he needs in this specific scheme, with him and Rich Rod having such a long history together. Definitely a lot more comfortable with that aspect of it now with him there instead of Bicknell that was there previously.
He's got some stuff on his X account, by the way, if you get a chance to go look at make sure I got the right exact, I believe it's just Mason McDermott. If you just type in Mason and it's spelled MCDERMOTT, MCDERMOTT.
Write that down.
Yeah, he has some film of him in his driveway at home, from standing from his back away to the basket, squatting down, jumping, turning around, and just dunking it. Just incredible. Like, just turning around and just like Shaq.
Yeah, especially, 300 pounds, and just to be able to get up like that still yet, just, off 2 feet. That's crazy.
I almost recorded it and brought it in here for this show myself, but we were running up against the clock, and I was like, well, I'll just tell him about it. But yeah, he's impressive. He's also got him running the ropes, and I mean, it sounds like this. Like his feet are just tap dancing right up off the ground. So 2 really stellar tackles here that I think West Virginia would do well to snag if they could. And I just want to, and you guys know by now, if you watch the show, O-line is obviously my favorite position. I just love it. And it's so technical too. So there's like a lot with it that you can evaluate. So that, for me, a nerd like me, it's fun to do.
Yeah, I always enjoy your breakdowns of offensive linemen, man. You do a great job of that. Thank
you, man. All right, so we do have another 4-star on this list to get to, and I wouldn't. He's definitely not least. I thought we may get his brother in the transfer portal. There was some real smoke there. I had spoken with both of them. They were both very interested, and for the most part, I was. The way I understood it was Bronx Baker, who was a 4-star out of the Utah, was going to follow his brother Easton if he went to West Virginia. That didn't happen. He decided to go on mission, which, in Utah, a lot of those guys do for the Latter-day Saints. But at the end of the day, that's not our business to talk about as much as on the field here. And Bronx Baker is a 6'2", 215-pound 4-star linebacker out of Stansbury, Utah. He's compact. He's dense. He's got power force size, and he is a legit downhill tackler with a true box presence that plays downhill, Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite targets in the 2027 class. Like you said, been following him for a while. I was kind of following that whole thing this offseason because I, as you said, figured if we got Easton Baker, we'd end up with Bronx Baker. Now, Easton Baker, as you said, going on his mission. So, but the good side of it, West Virginia's still in play for Bronx. I believe he put out a top 5 or top 6, had West Virginia firmly on there.
West Virginia's in there, yep.
And so that's, a positive sign already. I know we're a long way away from signing day, but West Virginia's been in the mix with his recruitment for a long time now, and I think in these situations, that's something that goes a long way, is getting involved early, maintaining that relationship throughout, and letting guys know that you're interested in them, which certainly is the case with Bronx Baker, who in my opinion is one of the better linebackers in the 2027 class. Yeah,
I love his stuff. It's going to be interesting to see what West Virginia does with him. Some other names that you need to know about, guys. Miguel Seatbelt Wilson, a corner / nickel. West Virginia is recruiting. He has already made a visit to West Virginia and will be going back to West Virginia. Ton of SEC schools, Kentucky, Mississippi State involved with him. Really nice year last year, 64 tackles, 4 interceptions, 6 pass breakups, 6 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, and he is a blast to watch on tape. Definitely somebody I would love West Virginia to get. Tavares Powell, if you haven't seen his tape yet, he decommitted from Syracuse. He is trying to think of a good comparison for him. I don't know. There's a couple out there that I could go with. Probably, I don't know, man. I sometimes I put myself in this spot all the time where I'm like, do I want to put a name like that on a kid like this? And then I'm like, I don't know. Who's the kid we lost to Ole Miss? What's his name again?
Traylon Ray.
Traylon Ray. Sorry, I couldn't get that name in my head. Traylon Ray, a good comp here for him. Not a guy that's a ton of start-stop or anything going like that. He's just a really smooth strider and is really good with one cut, in and out of things. But as far as like, he's not going to Tavon Austin you where he's dancing around making you miss. He's a guy that really straight line kind of speed type deal, really long strider, great athlete. But by far his biggest, in my opinion, strength is his ability to high point the ball. It's as good as any I've seen. And his arms are so long. Like, he's only 6'2". His arms make him 6'5". I mean, his arms stretch, and that's just, it looks like he gets on his tiptoes and goes up and gets these things, and it is incredible to watch. So if you get to go watch Tavares, man, he is something else to watch, because I really do think that West Virginia's got a shot here too, by the way. Tavares Powell out of Bradenton, Florida, by the way. 9 touchdowns, 42 receptions on 488 yards. I think he'll have a really, really good year coming up. Zach Gleason out of Pittsburgh Central Catholic is another player to watch. And then last but not least, and this guy is right there with the other ones we mentioned offensive line-wise, and probably should have played his tape too. You're going to see a certain standard of offensive line recruit now from here on out at West Virginia. Yep. Stafford Willis, Arab, Alabama, which is an elite place to play high school football now. 0 sacks allowed, 0 pressures allowed on 163 pass attempts. He had 51 pancake blocks and 44 what they call night efforts, which I'm assuming are hustle plays. He's a terrific overall athlete, smooth feet and pass sets, really balanced lower half if you watch him. He's got incredible kick side mechanics, and I could go on. But, I've already broke him down yesterday. I love his stuff, man. It's funny because I was going to feature him first yesterday. This is fun on this show when I broke all of them down yesterday, and I had him in the featured spot. And then I watched Ethan Lawson's tape, which is what we watched right before I got on the show.
That one's impressive.
And I'm like, well, now he's the featured guy. But, Stafford wasn't far off from that. They're different. Stafford he's similar to like a Malik Agbo, really agile, really athletic. So there's a lot to talk about there. But one more break to go here with Jordan from Country Roads Webcast. Make sure you're checking his stuff out over there, guys. He records every day now too, and is, as solid as anybody else in our business for West Virginia content. So, alongside me, he's probably putting out the most content. So I would imagine that you could probably find something over there almost every day. So make sure you're checking him out. We'll go to break. We'll come back and we'll talk some West Virginia basketball. Big game today.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. It was a heavyweight showdown between number 3 South Carolina and number 7 LSU, and the Gamecocks rose to the occasion. South Carolina secured a hard-fought 79-72 victory to stay atop the SEC standings, using a balanced offensive attack to outlast the Tigers. Tessa Johnson led the way with 21 points, while Raven Johnson added 19. Medina Okot dominated the paint with a double-double, finishing with 12 points and 17 rebounds, while Joyce Edwards chipped in 10 points to round out the scoring. With the statement win, the Gamecocks now turn their attention to a road matchup at number 23 Alabama on Thursday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Segment 3, come along with me as I drink a Arizona green tea. How about that? So we figured out a way. I said months ago, as long as I can figure out how to make it rhyme, I'm a simple person. That makes me happy.
I understand. I'm the same way.
It's like squirrel, Rottweiler. It doesn't take much for me. All right, so West Virginia plays a basketball game today. It's late. What do you think, man?
Time.
Like,
it's 8:30 tip's kind of weird, but
yeah, and the weather is supposed to go wonky, man. Around where I live, I live closer to the Ohio border. They're talking about tornadoes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little windy, so yeah, it's going to be an interesting weekend. Hopefully, don't get too many of those touchdown in West Virginia, but be safe if you're near them for sure. As far as the game tonight, people talk about must-win games. I like to call this one a can't-lose game because you can't afford to lose this one, a game that you should win on paper, but, the games aren't played on paper, and there's no gimmies in the Big 12 Conference. Utah may only have one conference win currently, but they've got some good players on that team. Terrence Brown, one of the better scorers in the country. They got another really good scorer at the guard position in Don McHenry. So West Virginia's going to have to be on their P's and Q's defensively, guarding those guys. I love the fact that it's in Morgantown, of course, giving us that home court advantage. But, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous because it seems like there's always those games that we should, handle somebody and it ends up being closer than it needs to be. I'm hoping it's not this one, as West Virginia needs all the wins they can get here down the stretch, but their performance and that comeback effort against UCF, I'm hoping, motivates them to have another good performance tonight.
Agreed. And in their mind, they could probably still make the tournament. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, they're probably thinking, look, and if we can win out, we can be 16-16, and then we just have to win one or two in the tournament, right? And I know that sounds crazy, but like if you're a player on that team, that's how you're thinking tonight. Like, it starts tonight. If we can get a win tonight, we can turn this thing around. We can win out. We might be able to win one or two in the tournament, and all of a sudden we've got 18 wins. Like that. If that was, that's just how athletes are.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be realistic, but so I wouldn't expect them to lay down at all. It's a long trip. It's a road trip. If our crowd shows out, I think this is a game you can put them away pretty early. But I've watched them a couple times this year. They have taken teams to the brink.
Yep.
And if you look at how close some of the games they've had, like Cincinnati was a really close game in Cincinnati. They only lost that game by 4. So that gives you a great idea for how this game's going to probably go tonight. Arizona State, who's playing much better lately, only beat them by 8 at home. That Oklahoma State game at Utah a couple weeks ago was way closer if you look at the box score, especially for most of that game. So they definitely, they just don't have, for the most part, what it takes to get over the hump this year. They're like one really good player away from being a tournament team or close. But, they can definitely upset anybody. And, you look at their schedule, they beat Ole Miss, they beat no, they didn't beat Washington. I thought they did. Who else have they beat this year? They got 9 wins.
They beat. I know they beat TCU. I think that's their
TCU. That was the other win. Did they beat Kansas State? No, they didn't beat Kansas State. They did beat TCU though, which is a pretty crazy loss for TCU, but that was at home for Utah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for the most part, their 9 wins did come a little earlier in the year. And in league play, they're not playing great. But, like I said, you'll take it if you can get a game like today where it's 69-65 and you pull it out. That's fine with me.
Yep.
I will say, and I know this might sound crazy, but we've seen him do it against Kansas before. James Okonkwo can play. He's not incapable of playing. Is he an elite player? No, he's not. But there are times where if the matchups favor him, he's a good athlete. I don't know if he's injured or if he's still playing at the same level. You would think he'd be better than when he was at West Virginia. Maybe it's a playing time thing. I don't know. But, he's a guy that maybe he's going to be really motivated tonight to play West Virginia.
That's a good point.
Just watch out because Okonkwo, like we said, look what he did against Kansas. He was the hero in that game, man. He was the hero in that game. So, for me, he's not going to be the focal point. Like you said, they've kind of got the three-headed monster of McHenry, Brown, and Dawes and Brown. Seydou Traore, who is like really streaky for them, is another guy. I had JT Wistersill on the other day. They thought they were getting an elite player with him. And he just has kind of been, but he is a rim protector. And I'm interested to see how that goes because West Virginia has not played well against rim protectors this year.
True.
Because if we can't feed our inside guys, like we want to, it can get rough, right?
Yeah.
And Traore is, if you look at him on the year, let me see. Yeah, I thought he was so much better last year wherever he was at. He's only 6'6", but I could have swore he had averages over a block a game. Well, he's averaging 9 points a game still. It's not nothing. Okay, let's look at his splits on the year. Yeah, no, he's not averaging a block a game. I'm wrong on that. Sorry, guys. Is there somebody else on the roster that's averaging a block a game that I'm missing here, Jordan?
There might be. Let me double check here, see what I got. I know I say Traore. I feel like we played like 3 different teams that had a guy named Traore last year too, so that could possibly be it. It's like super common.
Maybe it's Dawes. I don't know.
Is it Dawes? I know Dawes has been their leading rebounder this year.
He was good last year.
See, Josh Hayes. Josh Hayes is averaging a block per game is what I got here.
Okay. I know they had one guy that's averaging a block a game that's a rim protector. Obviously, that's not like, the kid we played, a couple games ago or anything where it's like, man, can we get anything up? So, it'll be interesting. I think this is a game that West Virginia can win. Could run away with, but we run away with any game this year? Have we run away with any game this year?
Off the top of my head, not that I can think of really. Besides some of those early season ones, but once you get into kind of the thick of it and playing teams and more your skill level, I don't think we have.
Man, if we could go back in time and just win that Clemson game out of all the games. Yeah,
when I was looking and you see Clemson in the field and Ohio, either Clemson or Ohio State, we'd be sitting really pretty right now if we could have pulled out either one of those. But now all we can do is handle what's left on the schedule.
Well, I feel like, karmic balance, right? Because we took, although they maybe they're not out of conference, but, we were down 14 to Cincinnati. We were down 14 last game, and we come back and won those games. And we gave up 2 double-digit leads in the last 7 or 8 minutes in those games. So at least we kind of turned that around. But
that's a good point.
Real quick before we get out of here, give me a key to the game and a prediction.
I think for me, the major key is our defense needs to show up, hold their scores in check. If we do that, I think we'll be able to do enough to win the game. Prediction-wise, I'm going to go, 68-57, West Virginia with the win.
I think my key to the game is Utah actually is a good catch-and-shoot team, which it seems like every team we play is. So they actually they are above average at making tough shots. So, I think our 3-point defense is once again going to be so integral to this game. We've been a top 25 rebounding team this year. I think that's shocked the hell out of a lot of people. Definitely. So, if we can hold them to one shot, I think we're in great shape to win this game. And obviously we can't have that slow start again. We have to get that switched. Like it's got to start switching. So really looking forward to the game. Tell everybody where they can find you really quick before we bounce out here, Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you having me. You guys can check me out here on YouTube as well, covering West Virginia sports, Country Roads webcast, and then plug my other channels may as well. If you're a fan of movies, JC_S movies on YouTube, and then I also cover the college football video game. That's JC_S CFB on YouTube.
All right, guys, we're going to bounce. Thank you so much for being here as always. And thanks to Jordan for making time again for a second in 3 days. Be back after the game, post game. Are you doing a post game as well?
I don't think I'm gonna do a post game, but I think we're gonna do a watch party stream for channel members. So if you're not a channel member of the Country Roads webcast, come join and watch the game with us.
All right. Well, I'll be doing a post game as soon as the game is over with. So come here as soon as West Virginia and Utah are done. Doesn't matter what time it is. I will be here. It's just what I do. Win, lose, or draw. Even if we lose, well, I always leave it. If we lose by a lot, especially, and it's like I might need a day. But there's most of the time I'm cool-headed enough to come on here and talk after the game if we lose. But it wasn't always that way. This job has kind of made me better at that. There was a time when walls were punched and fans are broken, and when I was younger,
is a lot better now.
But you know why? And this is just my theory. Here's why. I think we've been pounded into submission. I do, because we used to not lose a game but 1 or 2 games a year. Right. So every single game was like, if we lose this, we have no shot at the national championship. And that's just not the case anymore. We're not in that situation anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that's a lot to do with it.
I think so. I think you're onto something there.
All right, y'all. See you later here on the channel. Make sure you're here for post game, and make sure you're checking out Jordan during the game and all that. Make sure you check out Locked In. Make sure you're checking out, but make sure you check out the Locked On Everydayers Club as well. Free audio during our audio podcast, as well as a members only Discord you don't want to miss. Drake told me a lot of characters. Cody will be in there, so you want to check that out too. And I will see you on the next one. But before we go, what do you say at the end of every show, Jordan?
Hey, let's go Mountaineers.
Cue Country Roads.